I think it is a million-dollar question that you just asked here. And we've been talking about Central Eastern European cover bond markets for a number of years already. And we saw how they did blossom in countries like, for example, Poland, where the number of issues has risen in the recent years, and I think it will continue to rise. For the establishment of the cover bond market, we need three basic things. That relates to a framework, to assets, and also the market players. And that's something that we are trying to support the Central Eastern European countries in development. When we think about 2019, there are a few countries that are coming to my mind. One of them is clearly Romania. We've been working with the Romanian authorities on the legal reform a few years ago. The banks were quite liquid, and there were not any issuance coming to the market. Are we going to see 2019 cover bond issuance coming out of Romania? I would really hope so. Farther on, Slovakia, we saw the first issues of cover bonds under the new legal framework this year, and I think that trend will continue with a very good legal framework and AAA rated issuances in the next year. The one that, actually the two countries that I'm putting my 50-50 for 2019 are in the Baltics. EBRD is very closely working with the Baltic states to create the cover bond framework. And what we can see right now is that two countries are going a bit ahead. One is Estonia, and the other is Lithuania. Just a few days ago, the parliament in Estonia was looking at the first reading of the draft legislation. That means, and if it's managed to be adopted before the elections that are happening early next year in 2019, we could see the first Estonian cover bond coming out to the market by the end of 2019. And let's see whether something similar would happen in Lithuania. That would be my little bet on the 2019 CEE cover bond issuances.
Indeed, in EBRD region, there are countries that have already updated their cover bond legislations. There are countries that don't have a cover bond legislations that are currently in the process of adopting it, and there are countries that they still have to update the cover bond legislation in order to be in line with the new directive. Looking at 2019, I expect Poland will continue to be the main issuer of cover bonds in Central and Eastern Europe, and this has been driven by a combination of factors. First of all, there are already existing issuers that tap the international capital markets and establish the investor base. There is a relatively strong legislation in line with most of the ABA recommendation, and it's also a relatively large mortgage market of about 100 billion euro that facilitates this type of issuers. Another country that I would see more issuance coming, it's Slovakia, that recently updated the cover bond legislation. We have seen the first cover bond issuance rated AAA by Moody's this year. There were a couple of sub-benchmark issuance by two of the banks, and I would expect that next year there will be more kind of either sub-benchmark or benchmark issuances. Romania is still on the countries that we would expect an issue this year. Romania has updated the legislation a couple of years ago. There have not been any issues yet, but we expect to see something coming in 2019. Another country where I would expect to see more issues coming is Greece. Greek issuers have recently re-established their presence on the covered bond market. There have been already a couple of benchmark issues coming out of Greece. There is a high stock of mortgages in Greece. The programs benefit now of an upgrade of the rating, so some of them are already at the investment grade, and we'll see also issues coming from Greece as well. Hungary will still continue to see covered bonds. This is mainly triggered by the regulatory requirement that 20% of the mortgages have to be financed via covered bonds. However, in the case of Hungary, I would expect a more, they're mostly local issuance in local currency and not necessarily to a very large amount.